There is currently an ongoing war in the Nigerian business space. This is not the type of war you fight with gun or sword, but a war of power, influence, and dominion. Two of the richest men in the continent are currently engaged in a trade war. Aliko Dangote and Rabiu are clashing because of cement, sugar, and oil refinery. Aliko Dangote just built an oil refinery in Lagos State.
It is the largest single line in the world. It's 650,000 barrels a day.
BUA Group is currently building an oil refinery in Akwa State.
Well, the choice of Akwa Ibom is easy because, we decided on Akwa Ibom because of the feedstock.
The level of competition among these two giants have gone confrontational. For example, there's always scarcity of sugar in Nigeria at every Ramadan. This scarcity makes the price of sugar become a bit more expensive, according to reports. This sugar thing is an intentional thing. The manufacturers of sugar are the ones creating this artificial scarcity so that the prices of sugar can become a bit more expensive so as to make more profit, since seasons like Ramadan happens just once a year. The two major producers of sugars in Nigeria are Dangote Sugar Refinery and BUA Foods. According to BUA, they built a sugar refinery in Port Harcourt so that they can put an end to this seasonal sugar scarcity, and that Dangote used every means possible to make sure that that refinery never took off. These two companies are household names in the Nigerian food and cement market, but have grown to be opponents in a very dangerous business arena. Apart from the BUA Port Harcourt refinery issue, in the same year 2020, BUA Cement also accused Dangote Cement of stepping on his toes. This was because of a limestone accusation query in Edo State. They wrote some very big page of allegation narrating how Dangote used former President Obasanjo to take away a land from them, a land at Tinkan Island, Lagos State, where they wanted to build their first sugar refinery. According to them, Dangote made sure that the land was revoked. They also stated that when they went into cement production, because they could not find a land to build a cement factory, they bought a large ship and constructed in it a cement factory, more like a floating cement factory. They wanted to dock the ship in Lagos, but they were denied approval. Then they moved it to Port Harcourt, and Dangote used every means possible to make sure that that ship was removed from Port Harcourt until President Yaradua came to their rescue and gave them presidential approval. Accusations and counter-accusations. All this will be discussed in detail in this video, including the issue that connects Godwin Emefiele, the then CBN governor of Nigeria, on how he gives Dangote some cheap foreign exchange deals, which made the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) to visit Dangote's group office demanding for some documents. This is a story of fraud, of deceit, of lies, of powers, so much so that they even have to drag the presidency in this battle. In fact, let's start the whole issue from the very beginning. The whole thing started in August 1991. According to BUA Group, there was sugar scarcity in Nigeria then, and BUA was still a small trading company, importing sugar, flour, rice, and other products. They had not started manufacturing then, and they were very lucky to have some bags of sugar still available in their warehouses. Due to the scarcity, Dangote had little or no sugar to sell then. He approached BUA and asked them to sell sugar to him, and then BUA accepted. They sold some sugar to Dangote. But remember that Dangote and BUA have a long family relationship. Both families have been business friends for many years. So after BUA sold the bags of sugar to Dangote Company, Dangote gave them Associate General Bank of Nigeria check, a bank that was in existence then, which is today known as Heritage Bank. Unknown to them, the check was a bounce check. The bank refused to pay them. In fact, they stated that they didn't know it was a trap by Dangote, and they became a victim of that trap. Their statement was this: "If only we knew that he was setting the first of many traps in our business history." This transaction led to a court case, and according to them, Dangote used his influence to make sure that the court seized their assets. For 3 months, they couldn't make any good use of their bank accounts, and their warehouses were closed. This was the beginning of their business war. Although BUA Group didn't tell us how this case was resolved and if they got their money back, but a court document based on the order given at an Ikeja High Court by Honorable Justice Enten Akonde, the court ordered Dangote Group to compensate BUA for damages. Remember that when this case was going on in 1991, both companies were still trading companies. They were known then as Dangote Nigerian Limited and BUA International Limited. According to the court documents, it was alleged that when BUA could not cash out the check, he stopped supplying the remaining bags of sugar to Dangote. As at then, it was remaining about 45,600 bags of sugar out of about 120,000 packs Dangote ordered for. So that was why Dangote sued BUA International Limited for malpractice and for damages and for not keeping up to the terms and conditions of the agreement. The judgment at the High Court went in favor of Dangote, aside the fact that Dangote was ordered to pay damages to BUA Group, but BUA was ordered to supply the remaining 45,600 bags of sugar to Dangote. So BUA felt that the judgment was harsh for them and that Dangote had weaponized the judicial system against them. The court also ordered BUA's account to be frozen in addition to the already numerous injustice Dangote has done to them. This made Rabiu very bitter, and as stated in the allegations that for 3 agonizing months, our accounts were garnished, warehouses shuttered, and our spirits tested. Yet, from the ashes of deceit, BUA survived. So BUA felt that the court judgment was unfair and that it was influenced by Dangote. They even went further to state that after the sugar and the court issue, a few years later, when they felt it was time for them to build a sugar refinery instead of continuing importing, they approached one Usman Dantata, who was Aliko Dangote's uncle, and had an agreement with him to lease his 4.5 hectares of land at Tikan Island, Lagos, to build the sugar refinery there. But to their surprise, after they had signed the agreement and paid all applicable dues, it was time to start construction. After they had set up the construction equipment, suddenly Dangote came and took the land. Let me reiterate the way they wrote it. They said, Dangote waited until our contractors and equipment had been mobilized to the site. Then he went to former President Obasanjo, and President Obasanjo had the land revoked entirely and gave the lease to Dangote. As a result, even his uncle lost the land. BUA was only given 24 hours to vacate the land premises. So at this point, it was no longer about sugar disagreement or bounce check. It was already a business full-blown war. BUA stated that it took them over 1 year to get another land. In fact, it was the father of BUA's owner that came to the rescue. According to BUA's father, looking at what his son was going through, he had to shut down one of his businesses and gave the land to his son, and so BUA survived again, another Dangote deadly trap. We'll be asking, how was Dangote able to bring former President Olusegun Obasanjo into this matter? You see, apart from cement business and other businesses that Dangote has affiliation with, Dangote also has some political deals that helped give him some business advantage. In 2003, during the re-election bid of President Olusegun Obasanjo, Dangote played a prominent role in financing his campaign. He gave over $4.5 million, which included $2 million in support for the re-election bid, $500,000 contribution to the National Mosque under the name of Friends of Obasanjo and Aliko, and another $2 million contribution to the Presidential Library. These contributions were later turned into an investment, because while Dangote was dealing with BUA Cement, Dangote was still attacking another cement company called Ibeto Cement. A few years after the campaign contribution, Dangote filed a petition against Ibeto Cement, one of his major competitors in the Nigerian cement market. In the petition, Dangote alleged that Ibeto Cement was enjoying an unfair advantage by reducing its tax exposure on bulk cement import to 5% squarely. Dangote Cement claimed that such an unfair advantage contravenes a presidential directive that orders importers to pay 20% import duty and 5% value-added tax. In return, President Olusegun Obasanjo issued a directive that Ibeto Cement was not allowed to import cement until they provided proof of their investment in local production. In December 2005, President Obasanjo shut down Ibeto Cement plant for allegedly claiming investment tax breaks on pretense. This gave Dangote Cement more control over Nigeria's cement market and could be seen as a payback favor for the president's re-election support. But a few years later in 2007, when late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua succeeded the Obasanjo administration, following the 2007 Nigeria general election campaign, Ibeto Cement applied for import allocation, claiming to have met the stipulated condition the President Obasanjo administration had earlier demanded. The company was then granted an allocation of 1.5 metric tons of cement per annum at 5% import duty and tax-free under the backward integration policy. On account of this, Dangote petitioned President Yar'Adua alleging an unfair advantage. The president then directed all cement importers to operate under the same concession, stating that Dangote's petition against Ibeto was anti-competitive, meaning that Dangote wanted a monopoly in cement production in Nigeria. Remember, Dangote is from Kano State, and the chairman of BUA Group, Abdul Rabiu, is also from Kano State. It could have been a blessing that both of them are on the same line of business. If you remember what Adam Smith said about competition, he observed that competition is for public good, but the competition needs to be a healthy competition. And in the case of BUA and Dangote Group, this competition is no longer healthy. Not just in sugar, they are also at war in cement. You see, because these guys are high net worth individuals, they have access to presidents, people, resources and talents that an average Nigerian will not have access to. Because of this, they have huge influence over the financial market. Their collective decisions can cause a major shift in the Nigerian business space, just like when Dangote, BUA and Lafarge decided to increase the prices of cement from around 7,000 naira to about 15,000 naira respectively. There was an uproar in the country as builders can no longer build and many developers were stranded, such that the Senate had to summon the three of them for a conversation. That is the amount of power that these guys have in their possession. You see why this is a very delicate situation that even presidents always step in to intervene in their war. In 2007, President Yar'Adua wanted to expand the Nigerian cement market. He then selected 6 companies and gave them licenses to produce cement. BUA was one of those 6 companies, but BUA had no cement plant then. They wanted to get one, so what they did was to get a ship and construct it into a cement factory, more like a floating cement factory, until they were able to get a land and build a cement plant. So after building the ship, they planned to have the ship docked in Lagos, but they couldn't get approval to keep it on any Lagos water. So they moved it to Port Harcourt, but the drama didn't end there. Dangote was still on their trail, stalking them wherever they go to ensure that BUA will never become an established competitor in Nigeria. On one Friday, the Deputy Controller General of Nigerian Immigration went to the floating cement factory and arrested all the white men working there. According to what BUA complained, although they didn't state why the white men were arrested, maybe it involved immigration documents, but what BUA pointed out was that the white men were taken from Port Harcourt to Lagos with a Dangote-funded one-way local flight. According to them, not just that the white men were moved to Lagos, but the plan of the deputy controller who arrested them was to move the white men out of the country. BUA Group also stated that the name of the deputy controller was Owel Bran. He's the older brother of a Dangote senior staff. So until BUA Group was able to reach out to Mr. Taminu Yakubu, who was Yar'Adua's chief economic advisor then, and Mr. Yakubu immediately called the main controller general of immigration to halt the movement. That was how the white men avoided being deported back to their country. But the issue was a more serious one then, that even the president Yar'Adua had to step in, and at the end of the day, Owel Bran, the deputy controller of immigration, admitted what he did and was later dismissed from service. Still on cement, they did cement quarry in Edo State, particularly in Ogdu, Okpela area of Edo State. Before Dangote and BUA Cement became part of the disagreement about the quarry, there was 2 companies that were operating individually in parts of the quarry: Ado Ibrahim and Company Limited, also known as Aliko, and Okpela Cement Company Limited, which is now known as Edo Cement Company Limited. These 2 companies were operating in parts of the quarry based on the lease license that were given to each of them. They had some issues, but they were still managing and trying to settle out the issues until 2009, after President Yar'Adua had given BUA the license to produce and package cement. BUA went into an agreement with Edo State Company Limited. The agreement was that BUA would take over the asset and ownership of Edo State Company Limited. Then around 2014, Aliko, one of the 2 initial companies operating at the quarry, entered an agreement with Dangote Cement. They got an approval from the Federal Ministry of Mines that Dangote should take over the interests of Aliko at the quarry site. Immediately after the takeover was completed, the initial disagreement between Aliko and Edo Cement automatically became Dangote and BUA disagreement. This agreement is about who owns which part of the quarry. At one point, there were allegations that both of them were using security and thugs to harass each other's staff at the site, until the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obasanjo, decided to stop the 2 companies from operating at the site. Then the matter went to court, but sometime in 2020, a federal high court in Benin City gave judgment in favor of BUA Cement. Then Dangote Cement appealed the case. So depending on when the court decides, we can never know who owns which part of the quarry. Another place where these 2 companies have been having war is on newspaper publications. Dangote Group have alleged that there's a paid advertorial in 2 Nigerian newspapers, Business Day and Leadership newspaper, published on March 16, 2016, titled Art of Economic Sabotage by Dangote Smith. They stated that many Nigerian newspapers were approached to publish the news article, but most of them refused, and the person sponsoring the article was a competitor masquerading as a concerned Nigerian. Although they didn't mention the name of the person or the company sponsoring the article, but through the tone of their response, you would understand what they mean, and the fact that they also said that the sponsor was a competitor. The news article itself was about how Godwin Emefiele, the then CBN governor of Nigeria, did money laundering deal with the Dangote group, including a $3 billion foreign exchange from CBN, which were diverted to Dangote companies outside of Nigeria. Although Dangote Group denied the allegation, but somehow an investigation was conducted on its validity, which also made the EFCC to pay a visit to the Dangote office and demand for some answers. After which the Dangote Group responded and said, following the widely reported recent visit of the officials of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to our headquarters in Lagos State on the 14th of January 2023, we understand the concern and interest this would have generated among our valued partners, stakeholders, and the public, and consider it necessary to provide a factual account of the event. And then they went on to explain how the EFCC officials visited them and then what happened afterward. There are so many other allegations and counter-allegations about the trade war between these two giants. Some of the matters are still in court. It will be clear that what Dangote and his Kano brothers are doing is beyond Adam Smith's idea about healthy competition, and it does not in any way resemble the Coke and Pepsi competition we all know about. These two companies have been fighting each other through the courts, the police, the media, the thugs, the presidency, and in every other possible ways best known to them. And it will be unfair to say who is oppressing who. But as an observer, what do you think about this trade war? Do well to subscribe to our channel, and thank you for watching.